Hi, I'm George Pearson, and in this Photoshop How to Change Color of Object video, we will be colorizing this white car and painting it this nice blue color. Okay, let's get to it. The first thing you want to do when you're going to be using Photoshop to change the color of an object is to zoom in and look for any problem areas. We'll zoom in kind of tight here. There's just a little bit of a bump right there. I'll keep an eye on that. Hold the space bar down. You see how the grill here kind of overlaps the white. That's okay. So a little bit of a chrome on the top of the door handle. We'll keep that in mind. The spoiler appears to be in a different color, so that's fine. And the white goes up over the roof here. But in here, the middle of the roof is a different color, so we only need to worry about just this bit right there. And moving along, that edge, that pillar over here is in white, of course. And then down towards the front, we have the logo right there. And then the chrome comes out, and there's a little bit of a something right there. Keep that in mind. Nothing unusual down along this edge down here. Yeah, it looks like we're fine. Just a little bit of something right down there. There's a few things to keep our eyes on. We'll start off right down with this piece here. Now I'll be making the selection by first making a path, and we'll then convert that path into a selection. And the reason why I like using a path is because you can go back and you can adjust it and modify it and make it absolutely perfect. So we'll start with that. Grab our pen tool, and I'll start just right in here a little bit. And I'll just click a few of these points that we need to get around this little whatever it is. And then come down. Now if you're putting in points, you're putting in straight lines. If you click and drag, it puts in a curved line. Right now we're starting off as straights. And I hold the space bar down to move everything. There we go. Now at this point we're beginning to have some curves in here. So for curve you click and drag, and it gives you a curved line. Now I'll be putting in several points to go around any curve just to make things easy. If you have a few too many points, that's fine. If you have too few points, it gets more difficult. So it's better to have too many points than it is to have too few points. And just kind of work around here and put in a few of these curve points. There's a click here and a click there with both corners. And then we'll just continue on around, just doing a basic job here of getting a path in place. I'm not trying to be perfect at this point. I just want to get something down and get just some basic path points to work with. We'll then come back on a second pass and carefully clean up this path so that it's right on that edge where we want it. So just kind of working around. If you have a tighter curve, you want to have more points. If you have a larger curve, smoother curve, then you can get away with fewer points. If it's straight, you just go ahead and just click your corner down there. Okay, hold the spacebar down again, and we'll just move straight across the bottom of the windshield here. There we go, and right over the top. Then we'll catch this far side pillar. And this is all, again, just straight lines and a corner right there. Alright, spacebar, we'll move this around. Now there are parts that we have to go in and make a secondary selection to remove from our first selection. And again, we'll do those as a later pass. Just kind of do it a step at a time and do your largest path first and then go back and do your smaller cleanouts second. And it should be fairly easy to do. Okay, now we're getting into some curve stuff again. You also can change your points to curves or change curves to points after the fact. So of course it's another nice benefit here of working with a path is that you can convert these things. You're not stuck with these things being either a corner point or a curve point. You have the option to make those adjustments afterwards. And again, it just allows you to make it a perfectly accurate path to get just the perfect selection. Okay, we're down along this little bit down here, a little corner here, and curve in a corner. So we're going inside, of course, and just nice little gentle curves in here. Little tight curve here, so just a few more points closer together. And I'll continue to make these just subtle curves, and a point there, and a little curve here, and then back up around this thing, just a few little points in there, and come down around this, looks like an air dam or something. And now we're down to this little bit right down in here. Just little curves and stuff, little thin section. But that's fine. We can easily come in and modify that and clean that up so it's perfect afterwards. This is also the hardest part, the most time-consuming part of the whole process is this selection. This also is the part that makes it look really great. So if you need to take time anywhere on this picture, on this job, this is the part you want to take your time on. So don't worry if this takes a little bit more time than you think it should. That's fine, because this is the most critical part of the whole process. Actually, colorizing is the easy part. Nothing to that. And it's a good selection that will make that colorization look natural. Well, of course, a couple little tricks I'll show you in there as well, but it really comes down to the selection as being the most important part of the whole project, which is why I'm taking more time on this. Okay, we're just about down to our starting point again, and there it is. So our whole path is in place now, and if we fit this back on screen, you can see there's the path, and it's just the major part of the car. And we'll do this and convert this into a selection. We'll then come back in and remove those inside pieces from that selection. Let's now do our second pass on that, and that's to come in even tighter. And let's go over here to the Direct Selection tool, and with this tool we can click on our individual points and then just kind of move those around until we get them just exactly right. And of course, use the space bar again to move your image around as you're working with it, and just pull this around to get the path exactly where you want it. We should be reasonably close on this. I was trying to be fairly careful with this. And if you can't see where the path is like that, just pull it off to the side, back and forth, to kind of get a sense of where it is. And where you know it is, then you can go ahead and just kind of lock it into place. And it looks like we're doing just fine. Clear around here. Maybe just a little adjustment right there. And this is down too far, so I just come up just a bit. There we go, and let's see where that curve is. Looks pretty good. To pull this one back a little bit, see there's our curve right in there. It's a little hard to see sometimes on this, get this real thin line. If you zoom in, it doesn't get any bigger, unfortunately. It just kind of stays the size that it is. Now there's kind of a little dip right there. I'm just kind of working with that. So a little kind of notch thing. Okay, looks good. I think I'm happy with that. And we'll continue on down. And again, this is the most critical part of the whole process, so go ahead and take your time on this and make it as perfect as you can. I'm not going to be going to absolute perfection here, just for time for this video. But if this were a professional job, I'd spend even more time and make sure that this was exactly perfect. I'd zoom in a little bit more and make sure I had just an absolutely perfect path on this. Okay, but looking pretty good here. Just kind of lining these points up. And you can pull the control handles in and out to adjust the quality of that curve. You see, here's the quality of the curve right there. And if I pull this up and down, you can move or bend the curve that way and make it larger or smaller by pulling the control handles in and out. And let's kind of just fine tune that. There we go. It's a little bit of a dip right here. I can pull that in and get that right up to that dip. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and at this point pause the video, and I will finish cleaning up this path around the whole car. And as soon as the path is clean, I'll then bring the video back up again. Okay, going into pause mode here, and then I'll see you again in just a second, and I'll spend several minutes just cleaning up and finishing this cleanup on this path. Okay, there's the carefully cleaned up path. We can see that up here under paths. There's our work path right there. There we go. Let's now make a copy of this layer. I'll just drag this down to the new layer button, make a copy. We'll be using this as our background to put in some of our coloration here in our final image. So we're on a copy now. Now we're still on the direct selection tool. Right click in the middle of the path somewhere. And let me see if I can get this so you can see this. There it is. Click on Make Selection. Now I have a feathering radius here set at 1 pixel. It just kind of softens up the edge just a little bit, makes it just a little bit smoother on this. I normally do 1, sometimes I'll do 2, it depends, but I'll just leave that as 1 right now. Choose OK, and there's our nice clean selection that we have in there. Let's now convert that selection into a layer mask. Just come down to the layer mask button, click on that. There's our nice layer mask. So if I hide our background, there we go. There's just the white part of the car and those little interior pieces that we need to clean out. Okay, let's just do the headlight here. I'll do the headlight in this video. I'll do this one live, and then I'll just pause the video and get the rest of those other pieces that need to be cleaned up as well off camera, since they're the exact same technique as the headlight here. So let's zoom in on the headlight. Now again, what we need here is a nice tight selection around the headlight, and then we're going to use that selection to clean out or modify the layer mask up here. So I'm going to make a new layer. There we go, it's a new layer just like that. This way my selection will be on a separate layer just to keep things clean and protected. And let's go back to our pen tool. And once again, just choose a place to start. I'll start right here, and let's just put in just little curves coming along here. And again, not trying to be too perfectly accurate with this, but trying to be okay. That's when I pull these control handles out, I try to follow the shape that I'm working on so that the control handles just follow around. That helps you get your curve in the right direction. Again, if it's a tighter curve, then you need more points. If it's a longer curve, you can get away with fewer points. And just work our way around. There we go, and down across the bottom down here, again just lining up those control handles with the curve. This is a pretty easy shape here, so this will actually go pretty quickly. Other ones are just a little bit trickier. But again, same concept. And come back to the beginning. And that completes our path. Let's now grab the direct selection tool right here. Actually, I'm going to zoom in a little bit first. There we go. See it real nice and tight. Direct selection tool, and let's take a look at the path and just clean the path up a bit in here. So that needs just a little bit clean up right there. There we go. Not worry about that little dip. That little dip won't show. Again, hold the space bar down to move the image around as you're cleaning up your path. This is the exact same technique I used on the outside of the car, just working one point at a time and moving around and getting all the points just absolutely perfect. So I have a real nice clean path. And then once the path is done, then it's just like we did before. Simply convert that path into a selection. And then once you have the selection, you can then use that selection to clean out or make a change on that layer mask. So we'll see how that's done. Just about done here. So this is pretty quick here on this part, because it's a very gentle, kind of easy, basic shape. Nice thing with the layer mask also is you can always go back and modify the layer mask as well. Even after it's been made, you can adjust the layer mask. So by using a combination of the path to create your selection and then using the selection to make a layer mask, it gives you complete control to adjust and refine so that everything is exactly where you want it to be. So it's, it's a absolutely perfect image. Okay, just continuing on down across the bottom, getting closer to finishing on this one step actually. That was off quite a bit. That's fine. It's good now. And just again, just kind of continue around, double check your control handles, and just keep an eye on your path and bring the path clear around. And there we go. Looks good. Okay, there's our path. Let's just now zoom out a little bit. I'll hold the Alt key down and we'll zoom out a touch. So there's the nice path around that headlight. Again, we have our new layer up here. This is just a temporary layer. Right click inside of the path someplace and make selection. Do the 1-point feathering. There we go. So single click on your layer mask. There we are. We're on the layer mask. We have our selection. So all I need to do now is just to fill this with black, and that will then remove that part of that layer. Any way you want to do this, I normally just grab my paintbrush and just put a standard brush in here. Just got a nice soft brush. About halfway through, about 50% or so. Not real critical on this particular stage. Just a brush with black in it, and I'm just going to paint around, and over that I'm painting black up here onto the layer mask. Let me make sure my opacity is 100%. There we go. And the selection will limit where the painting is so that we can be real kind of sloppy with this, and it will give us a perfect mask on that. I'm just going to hide the two cars here so you can see what's going on. Make sure opacity is 100%. That's good. There we go. That's what I want to see. So there it is, and then deselect, and there's that nice clean cutout. Okay. Bring our car back in behind, so there's our cutout. So I'll be using this exact same technique, and I'll use the pen tool, and I'll do this cutout here and that little bit up there, and over here do this little bit, this window and mirror, and a little bit right across the top of that handle right there where the chrome is. So I'll do all of that off camera, but it's all exactly the same technique as I did here for the headlight, so nothing new, no reason to waste your time on watching me do all that stuff. So I'll be back up in just a second for you, and after a few minutes for me, after I have finished those little parts of this cleanup. Okay, so on to pause mode, and I'll see you back in a second. Okay, down to the last piece down here. I finished off everything else. Just this last bit down here. I'm on the layer mask over here. I have my black paintbrush. See, there's the brush size. Make this real easy. I'm just going to hide that car in behind. So you can see there it is with just the white showing. And let's just finish off this one last bit. And I always just kind of paint around the edges first, just like that, and then just fill in the rest. And I'm painting black on the layer mask, so it's hiding the picture. I'm not actually erasing anything. I'm just hiding it inside of that layer mask. Okay, that finishes that off then. Let's go ahead and we'll deselect, and let's fit back on screen. So there is the white part of the car, and here's the other rest of the picture hiding in behind. So there we go. At this point I no longer need my safety layer up here. I can just go ahead and delete that. And that's the hard part of the whole project right there. The hard part's all done. Now it's just a matter of making our color change. Okay, let's go up here to this layer. The first thing I want to do is I want to convert this to a black and white and not to a color image. And the reason for that is there's actually a lot of color in here. It's kind of yellow up here. We have a bit of a kind of a purplish color right down here. There's some bluishness in here, a bit of blue up there. So if I try to modify the color of this, I get all kinds of strange colorations happening there. It would really kind of mess up the whole effect. So let's just convert this layer over to a black and white layer. We'll do that as our first option. So let's go up here to Image, come down to Adjustments, and black and white. And I'll leave these all at their default settings. That's just fine. So there it is before, and here it is after. It just removes the color out of that and leaves us just a nice clean black and white image. That's what you want. Okay, there it is, black and white. Now let's put our color onto this, and we'll do that with an adjustment layer above this layer. So let's go up here to Layer, come down to New Adjustment Layer, and we'll be using the Hue and Saturation layer. And where it says Use Previous Layer to create a clipping mask, make sure that that is selected. Choose OK. That locks the adjustment into just that one black and white layer. We don't want to have anything happening on our background color picture down there. Okay, so there is our properties. I'll leave this at the default setting, and let's change our hue in here. Let's change this to 203, and actually let's just colorize first. There we go, colorize right there. And now let's change that hue to 203. This kind of puts us into the blue range. Let's increase our saturation to 100%. It's kind of really nice and super bright. So we need to bring our lightness down, and I'll bring this down to -52 right there. Close that out. Now if I show the car in behind, there it is. Now it looks a bit like a plasticky car. You know, it's not really great. It's blue car obviously, but it looks like a cheap blue, like a cheap paint job and not a good paint job. To make this look like a real nice paint job, we want to be showing through some of these interesting little color variations happening that we have in here. We've kind of lost all of that, of course, when we went over here to the black and white. We lost some of this color variation. So we can bring that back in again by blending this layer down into our Colorize layer. So go up here to our blend modes and come down here to hard light, and there we go. There's the gorgeous car. So there's normal, looks pretty dull, but we'll blend it down to our other color, and there's the hard light. Now you can choose different blending modes if you want to. There's overlay, for instance, a little different look. It's a little lighter look. There's a soft light look, a little lighter, but all of these keep that color variation in it. That's what we're looking for that color variation. Now I have a kind of yellowish up here, we're kind of purplish down there. That really sells the coloration. But the one I like here is the hard light look, and there we go. So as you can see, the only hard part about it is just making a careful selection. That's the only difficult thing. Once you have your careful selection made, you're working with your layer mask, then it's simply a matter of converting that layer to black and white and then doing your color shift with the hue, saturation, and colorize. Let me just show you that again. I'll bring that back up. Double click brings it back up. I can then change my color in here to anything I want. You know, any color car I want. I can make it a nice yellow color, kind of an orangey color. That's kind of fun. Make it kind of a Ferrari red color in there. Just pulling the slider across to get any color variation that I want in here. Now once I have the color variation, you'll want to come back and make some fine tune, of course, with these other settings. You know, adjust your saturation a little bit maybe. Just to do that last little detail touch to really sell the image. Just kind of tweak these a little bit. That's your final step. So there we go. That is how to colorize a white car. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you found it useful. If you like this video, click on the like button below to let others know. You can click the subscribe button so you don't miss any of my videos in the future. I'm frequently uploading new training videos. Don't forget to check out my website at howtogurus.com.